Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey, babe.
Given that's how we live it, don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I love you. God loves you best. Hello, hello, hello. You are tuned in to Ronnie P TV. I am yours truly, Ronnie P. And tonight we will be reviewing Married at First Sight, Season 10, Episode 14. And this episode is entitled Fight or Flight. Yes, there was a whole lot of fighting, and there was even some flighting going on. Yes, there were some people who fled the scene. So we are going to get right into it without further delay. I am going to go in no specific order. We are just going to go couple by couple because this episode really did it for me. It sucked my soul. I think that I have a little bit more to give till the end. We'll see. I'm going to give it all I have. Okay. So we are just going to start with Miss Katie and Derek. Girl, let me tell you something. You are not special, okay? You think you're special, but you're not special. And you know you're not. That's why you throw tantrums all the damn time. And you need to go to time out. You need to go to the reflection corner like little children do. Katie got besides herself. I blew up so much in this episode until I can't even remember, so I'm just going to pinpoint the highlights that really stick out to me. I know that they were the first to arrive. This was the couples retreat episode where the couples were supposed to gather in the cabin where they set aside the time where they're supposed to bond and have the exercises where they have they get together and they do things together. Okay, well, Derek and Katie got there, they picked their room, yada yada yada. Throughout the time that they were there, Katie just wasn't satisfied. Nothing pleased her, and she was just insecure most of the time, and it just really got on my nerves. It just got on my nerves, and she was insecure with the fact that it seemed like he was getting along better with the other young ladies, preferably Taylor. And again, like I said, I'm not going in any order. I'm just highlighting the things that really stuck out. When Taylor arrived in, she just became really self-conscious about his interaction and engagement with her, and it really bothered her, and she dumbed herself down to the point where she couldn't even have an intellectual, intelligent conversation. She just threw tantrums and just blew up and nah, and just got up from the table and was like, he doesn't do these things with me, and I don't understand why he's always like so nice and dapper and all these things with other people, but he never does these things with me, and wah, wah, wah. I'm like, bitch, please. Like, get it together. Bring it down, Veronica, bring it down. And we're getting there. Okay, so he makes an effort. Derek makes an effort to try and talk to Katie. He says, Katie, can I talk to you? She says, no! End quote. And he's like, is it because I'm engaging with Taylor? And she's like, the fact that you come in here and you know what my issue is, it really shouldn't be an issue. She's one of the other couples, and we all should be able to freely engage, just like the whole purpose at that time was to try and make Mika feel better, because she came in and everybody could clearly see that she was feeling down. So I don't understand what the big deal was. I really don't. Maybe if Katie really, truly personified the confidence that she says that she has, if she truly demonstrated and exuded the confidence that she says and claims that she has, none of this would be going on right now. But she is so unaware and unsure of her own self that this is where this comes from. It's a lack of awareness, self-awareness, and it's low self-esteem. But it is esteem of yourself. Anyway, then we have Jessica and Austin. I just want to know who brings a crock pot to a retreat, to a couples retreat. Quite frankly, I don't want her food. I don't want her food. I don't like Jessica because she's bossy and she's controlling. She's just rubbed me all the wrong ways. And she started bossing other people around at some point in time. When Taylor and Brandon came up and they were talking, and Jessica made a comment about they were going to be cooking, and she's like, and guess who's going to help me? She's like, you are. And Brandon looked at her like, it wasn't that she was talking to him, it was her response, and she was talking to Katie and Taylor, and he caught it because I caught it. I was like, who the fuck is she talking to? And he looked, and I looked too when she said it, and I was like, Jessica needs her some kids, because not only I'm tired of her talking to Austin like he's a child, but I'm just tired of her taking on this controlling demeanor, this very dominant role over others. Just control you, girl. Worry about you. But I really don't have much to say about Austin and Jessica in this episode. They were more like flies on the wall, but I do have a lot to say more about Jessica later on. Mika and Michael, on their way to the retreat, they were talking, and they were basically having the same conversation that they often have after they hit their downward spiral and they try and bring it back up. Mika was saying how she felt like she understood a little bit better after she spoke to Michael's sister about his inconsistency. Let's just call it what it is. She felt like she understood a little bit better where Michael's lies come from after he went through all of his manipulation, talking about his mom and her lack of presence in his life and being adopted, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I said in a previous review, if he went back to that whole speech and spiel again, that it's all a facade, and I was done with it. I said in my very first review that I was not sure what it was about Michael. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew it was something. I knew it was something that I did not like. I just couldn't say what it was. But it is starting to unfold every week. And he has issues. He's very pretentious. He's a liar. He's just a liar. He's unaccountable. He's not present to be accountable for his actions and his behavior and his lack of truth. And he doesn't want to accept responsibility for the things that he does or doesn't do. And by the way, are we still going to Jamaica and swimming with the dolphins? I just want to know. Anybody know if that trip is still on? and if we're going to swim with the dolphins on that excursion. Also, I'd like to know, can we verify and confirm if Michael is in fact gainfully employed? Because I need to know. Maybe Mika wants to fiddle faddle around with it, but I'd like to know before decision day. I'd like to know like 2 weeks ago. Because after that forged document with the letterhead and all of that, that really concerned me. And I would have been out. Because if you can forge a document, a letterhead with official paperwork for a school or anyone's business and organization, that's dangerous. That's really dangerous. And as a matter of fact, I think I would have let him go first and share his information before I would have shared my own. So they're in the car and they're talking, and things go left, and she's explained to him again that he's not showing up and being accountable. And she's like, is it just me, or am I the only one that's seeing this? And he's like saying facetiously, and no, it's not just you. You're absolutely right. It's me. And he emotionally shuts down. He just always looks like this child that's being scolded by a parent every time she begins to talk to him. He doesn't want to accept responsibility. He just shuts down. You could see it in his body language and everything. And I don't know why she continues to try. And I don't know why he continues to lie and say that he wants that marriage, because he doesn't. Maybe he wants a marriage, but he doesn't want the marriage with Mika. That's clear. And I'm waiting for Mika to be absolutely honest with herself now and say, while I want to be married, I don't want to be married to Michael. And then we would be okay. Right now, the only person that's made true progress throughout this entire journey is Mindy. So we have to commend Mindy for making true progress throughout this entire experiment. They get there, and the next thing we know, Mika's hightailing it to the door. I've never seen somebody get from a car to a walkway that is so far apart so fast. It was amazing. And he was still at the car. Of course, he wasn't making an effort to try and catch up with her or anything, which I think is not chivalrous at all, just to leave a woman just walking up by herself in a dark, wooded area. So when she walks in the door, she's greeted by the other couples, but it's clear that they can see that she's distressed and she's not very happy. So immediately, Derek wants to go ahead and greet her with libations. He fixes her a margarita and on the rocks. And so Taylor makes sure that she gets her drink. Derek and Taylor exchange some laughs. Everyone's trying to enjoy themselves, have a good time. And they're just trying to meet and greet. Prior to that, we have Taylor and Brandon. We are informed that the night before their arrival, Brandon said that he had to work. So instead of Taylor, I guess, staying at home, she decided that she was going to go in town, which was in DC, and she was going to go and hang out with her girlfriends. Well, I guess whenever Brandon got back to the apartment, Taylor wasn't there. And she texted him, I guess, in the wee hours and said that she was sorry. She stayed out late and she wasn't even at a friend's house. They were actually at a hotel. And she stayed out late, she fell asleep, blah blah blah, want want want. You know the story that you give your parents. You lost track of time, you didn't know what time it was, you had been drinking, you didn't want to drive, you fell asleep, the usual. And you thought those things would be responsible instead of trying to get out on the road and drive and get back to your destination. When, in fact, what would have been even better is taking a night off from being out with the girls and just being a housewife and staying at home. What's wrong with that? I've done that a lot of times. Or maybe, just maybe, invite your girlfriends over to the house to hang out with you. That sounds like an ideal suggestion, being that you are married, but you instead choose to go out and hang out with the single girls and create this perception that you're single. Well, you are now, Taylor. So Brandon's like, you know what? I thought I would give this another shot. I shot myself in the foot. I'm looking like Boo Boo the Fool because I gave this chick another chance, her and her weave, and it's just not working for me. This is not going to work. And that's fair. It's okay. It's okay to give something another shot. It's okay to say, hey, maybe I reacted hastily the first time. Maybe it was too much and need to walk away, come back to it, try it again. Try it again, wasn't working for me. Okay, this isn't going to happen. He said, now what I don't like about Brandon is his passive aggressive behavior. Like, instead of him just looking like, look, you tried me again, you stayed out all night without any explanation, then you want to give me this lame ass text talking about, you fell asleep. That's something that you tell your mom and dad when you miss curfew. Don't tell me that. I'm your husband, okay? And I'm not going for it. That's not good enough for me, especially what we just came off of. You need to be a little bit more responsible. At this age, I think you know better. Hold her accountable. But instead, I guess he didn't want to come off that way because of what they came off of. So he chose to take the passive approach and not say anything. So on their way to the retreat, he's like, I'm going to take a nap, which I always wondered why he never drove. I'm like, does he drive? But okay. So he's like, now we get to see Brandon for a change on his handy dandy device. And he's like, and he told her, look, I'm going to take a nap. Let me know when we get there. She's like, you don't want to talk? He said, nope. And that was that. So they drive up. What really got me is when they got there and they were approaching the door and they were going in, Brandon had his bags, Taylor had her bags, and Brandon proceeded to open the door and he walked in the front door. He did not let Taylor go first. He just walked in the door, and then Taylor was taken aback because she really thought he was going to let her go first, and he didn't. She was like, And then she went ahead and walked in the door. Yeah, she had to do a little two-step because she didn't expect that. Expect the unexpected, dear. So, yeah. And she's a gaslighter at its finest. She omits a lot of information when she's talking to the other couples because she wants to present herself in the best light possible, and she dogs Brandon to the lowest common denominator. What I didn't like about all of their scenes is, one, when she called him out of his name. She called him a bitch. If he would have called her a bitch, all hell would have broke loose. I'm like, you don't call him out of his name. Why are you calling him out of his name? Like, what are you gaining from that? Like, is something that he said so provoking that you got to call him out of his name? Because he's a very monotone speaking person for the most part. I mean, he talks like this, and he doesn't really escalate his voice. So now he's a bitch. That's messed up. It would have never gone down if she was talking to a personality like mine. But she did it. She tried it. And he was like, oh, so now I'm the B word. And she couldn't justify it. She couldn't make good of it. And so he was like, she stormed off. And he was like, you know what? I don't have to deal with this. And he proceeded to unmic himself. And then the producers, this was another thing that I didn't like. The producer came over and told him he better not touch the mic. So you're going to tell this man that he better not touch the mic that is on his person? And Brandon said exactly what I would have. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if I unmic myself? And with everything that we're going through now, I suggest you stay 6 feet away from me. You keep some social distance between us. And if you come within any closer proximity of my arm, it's going to be something. So I didn't like that producer's tone. I didn't like his approach. And he kept asking Brandon what his problem was. His problem is he wants to remove himself, and you all want to sing. He says there's nothing more that you're going to get out of this. When she walked in there, he wasn't walking behind her. He had nothing else to say. So what were you thinking you were going to get? And then you're going to ask me what my problem is? Right now, my problem is you, so I suggest you back up. But that's another story. So after that, Brandon decides he's going to take off the mic. He hands it to him. He goes in the house. He wants to get his clothes. Taylor pulls another stunt, and she wants to barricade him in a closet, and she closes the door where nobody would be able to see what was going on. All they would do is be able to hear, and you could hear the distress in his voice saying, don't touch me. Get your hands off of me. I want to leave. Move. He kept telling her to move. He wants to leave. Don't touch him. And then you heard boom, 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 boom. So now you want to give the audience a perception as if this man is putting his hands on you, when clearly we know that that's not the case. But he's smart. He had that handy dandy phone on him, and he said, I'm doing this for my protection. And he put that camera on. And action. You want your 15 minutes of fame, Miss Taylor? You got it, girlfriend. You and that ugly weave of yours. So Taylor's now trapped in the closet with Brandon. And she's trying to plead with him because she wants to keep her camera time. And he's like, Heifer, I don't see it for you. I don't want to be nowhere near you. And then the producer, this beautiful chocolate lady, opens the door. And he's like, I want to get out of here. And she won't let me out. Could you move her? Could you get her out of my way so I can leave? And so the producer asked Taylor to move. And that is how Brandon is able to exit. So I really thought that was a very, very cringe-worthy scene to have to watch, because this is how a lot of times in domestic situations men are compromised, because they're often subjected to this type of behavior, and their back is against the wall, but nobody's able to see what transpired prior to, or they don't know what's going on, and maybe they just had to physically grab someone by the shoulders and just move them to the side. And now we're hearing the police got called and someone pushed you on the ground, or somebody's going to jail. And that didn't even happen. So that was very upsetting for me to have to watch. I didn't like it. I thought it was very disrespectful of her not to respect his wishes the first time asked, because you haven't invested enough of anything to put him in a situation like that. All for camera time and TV, it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. It's not worth his freedom. It's not worth his sanity and peace of mind. And it's not worth your image, because you look really bad right now. You look horrible in the court of public opinion. We don't like you, Taylor. We don't. And I really hope that you can't even redeem yourself at this point. I hope you've done so much damage that it is unredeemable and unforgivable. I really, really do. Because you look absolutely despicable. Like, you're not even aesthetically attractive anymore. You're ugly. You're ugly on the outside. You're ugly on the inside. And you're ugly on the outside because you're ugly on the inside. And we have later on, because of what transpired between Mika and Michael, she asked him to sleep in another room. Now, in the real world, couples do not go and sleep in separate rooms because of a little tiff like that. No, what wives do, we sleep in the same beds with our husbands, and we turn our back to him, and we just toot our boot. That's all we do. We don't sleep in separate beds because of some bullshit like that. But I understand why she would not want to sleep next to him in a situation like this, because she's up here. She is at her wit's end. She is done. And she should be, rightfully so. So fast forward, Brandon and Michael decide to leave the retreat. Brandon leaves because he has to go to work. Michael says he's leaving because he has funeral to attend, or some funeral arrangements to commence to finishing up or making. So that's what he's going to be handling. He leaves with Brandon. quite frankly, anything that Michael says, I don't believe it. Brandon is working at a festival, and when we come back later on, Michael comes back to the retreat. He says that he did get a chance to see some of his family and everything like that. They were in one vehicle. Production had to drop Brandon off. They had to take him to get clothes first for work. Then they took him back to the festival. Then they did some running around for Michael. It just sounded really ripping and running, and why, I don't know. It would have really made more sense for production to take Brandon if they needed to get his clothes and then drop him off, fine. But take Michael to get his vehicle so that he can run what errands he needs to run in order for him to attend his funeral engagement or handle the funeral arrangements that he needed to handle. So when he got tag teamed by not only Mika, but Jessica and Taylor, because he's not really that good of a liar, I thought that was entertaining. But here's the thing with that. I don't like to be asked a lot of questions, especially if they're not relevant. So when they kept just asking him a lot of questions, I was just like, I want to say, could you back off? Like, this isn't really a dinner conversation. Can I eat my food? Would you like to, why don't you ask me relevant questions like, how was the service? Or did I get all of my arrangements taken care of? How's my family, in my time of bereavement? Why don't you ask me questions like that instead of asking me why questions? Because last time I checked, I'm an adult and I don't have to answer to any of you people. Now, if he would have came off like that, everybody would have been looking crazy. The only person that he has to answer to is Mika. And at this point, if he doesn't want to answer to her because he's over the whole marriage, he doesn't have to answer to her either. Be like, you know what, Mika? We see where this is going. We know what it is. And you don't have to answer to me. I don't have to answer to you. And that's some honesty for your ass. And I'm not going to answer to you. And that's me being honest. There you go. And you're welcome. But that's not Michael. Michael is about deflecting and avoiding at all costs. I am so ready for decision day. I can't take it anymore. Please, oh please share your comments in the comments section below. I would love for you to share with me your opinions and your commentary of this week's episode, because I know you have a lot to share. We were together on Twitter this evening and we had a lot of talking this week. Don't forget to thumbs up this video. Also, most importantly, share if you care. And last but not least, subscribe to my channel. It means so much to me. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. It always is a pleasure to spend time with you. I love creating content and putting it out there for you all to watch. And yeah. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye.